On this episode of WI Veggie Grower, we're going to take a look at how to design and plant a planter or a flower bed or a basket. We also served some eviction notices. So we'll be right back. And while you're at it, hit the subscribe button down below and that little bell next to it so you're notified when a new video comes out. So let's get ready to learn how to plant a planter. We're going to take a look here at planter design and how to plant a planter. When I say planter, it could be a hanging basket, a 14-inch planter like we have here, a larger planter out in the middle of your yard, or even your flower beds. We are going to look at what to think about before you start planting, before you go and buy your plants. When we start thinking about our flower beds and our planters, we need to think about where they are located. Are they in the sun? Are they in the shade? Is it morning sun and afternoon shade? Is it morning shade and afternoon sun? Plants like begonias cannot take that afternoon sun, so if you're planting them in a spot, you could take some morning sun, but then you want the shade to come around from like 11 o'clock through 4 o'clock in the afternoon, so that during that hottest part of the day it's not getting that direct sunlight. Whereas a geranium, they can take some shade, but they'd rather have that full sun. They'd rather have that hot sun throughout the day. Not saying that it has to be like right out in the middle of the open where it's sun all the time. So once we figured out where the light comes from and how much sun the plants are going to get in that location, then we can start thinking about what can we mix together to make it look good. So the main part that we want to think about now is what type of plants we want to mix together. A good rule of thumb for mixing together plants is you want odd numbers. Odd numbers look better to your eye when you look at them from a distance. You don't want 4 of one plant. Make it 3 or make it 5. It allows you to mix in the other plants better. The planters that I'm going to be doing today, I'm not going to be following that rule of thumb because these are a 14-inch planter. It's going to be made to look like one plant or one item with different accents coming out of it. So that I'm going to bend that rule a little bit. So here I'm going to begin work on the geranium planter. As you can see, the planter is fairly full of soil. We want to leave a little bit of room to make room for when we put the plants in. I'm going to start with the spike, since that is our tallest one, and I am going to put the spike right back here in the back end. And then I got 2 of, this is the blue salvia. They get about 18 to 24 inches tall. So they're a little bit shorter than the spike, but they're still pretty tall. These are just starting to root. You can see a few of the roots are coming down to the bottom, but not many. They were planted later than that spike was. So they're going to go on each side of that spike. So now we have the back end with our tall plants. We have our spike and our 2 salvia. The salvia will grow up as well. Now we're going to go to that middle section, so our medium height plants, which will be our 2 geraniums. And these are red geraniums, so we have the blue salvia there, and then we got the red geraniums. The geraniums are rooting really nice. They're not all balled up, so I don't have to disturb that as much. And they're gonna go right here in this middle section. And then finally, we have our purple and whitish Super Bell or Calibracoa. And I'm going to put that right down front here. And now looking at it, I think I'm going to put 2 more Calibracoa on each side. They will grow out and fill this out a little bit more, but I think it's going to need 1 on each side. So I'm going to do that, and then we will fill in the soil around the plants, and we will have that planter finished. So here's the finished planter, the geranium planter. As you can see, once again, it is meant to be up against something, so you're looking at it from this direction. And what we have in here is we have the spike, the salvia, got a deep red geranium, and this purple and white Super Bell. So there is one of the 2 planters. So now once again we're going to start on our second basket. Once again we have soil in our planter. I'm going to start with the tall one this time in the middle, because this is the basket we're going to see from all the way around. We want it to look somewhat similar as we walk around this planter. Then I'm going to go to our Gerber geraniums. This is a mix. So with this planter, I kept our accent plants as a mix or a neutral color. This is a white salvia that I'm putting in the middle, because at this point I do not know what color these Gerbers are going to be. The moss roses are also a mix, so that is a surprise color as well, but they are in the same color combination as what this mix is supposed to be, as what the Gerber mix is supposed to be. So now when you plant Gerber daisies, right up here, we do not want to get any soil down in the crown of the plant. That will cause the crown of the Gerber to rot off. So whatever soil level you have your Gerber daisy at when you buy it, do not put any soil over the top of that. That is a tip to help your Gerbers survive when you plant them at home. So we're going to set them around here. So we got 3, so about a third of the way around each. We want to make a triangle with those Gerber daisies. Once again, you want them to be higher than everything else around it. You do not want the soil down in those crowns so that that way they don't rot off. So with the moss roses, our moss roses come in 3-packs. These are just planted, so they're not rooted all that much, so they break apart pretty easily. But if you do get a 3-pack that is not divided, you just have to like grab between there and rip them apart. It won't hurt the roots. The roots will survive. So those are going to go in each one of these spots in between the Gerbers. I need to get a little bit more soil to fill these in and then put these in there. So I'm going to put 2 moss roses here, 2 moss roses here, and 2 moss roses here to finish out this planter. I'll come back and show you what the finished product looks like once I get more soil. So here we are. Here's our finished product. We have that white salvia that gets about 24 inches tall, 18 to 24 inches tall. You got the Gerber daisies around, and you got the small moss roses in between the Gerbers. As you can see, the crown of the Gerbers are above the soil level so that they don't rot off. And this one, no matter what side you look at it from, it's going to be close to the same. The colors might be different, but it's going to be very close to the same no matter what way you look at it. So you can put this out in the middle of a flower bed and you can walk around it and get a symmetrical look. So I'm down here in the Veggie House. We got cauliflower and broccoli and cabbage and cole crops, the onions there. There's a few tomatoes down here. We need to get all these cole crops and the onions out of here onto wagons so that they don't get too stretched out. It's actually kind of too warm in the greenhouse for them, and they're gonna grow too fast and the plants will be too big. They need to get used to the cold weather so that when we plant them out in the field, they don't go through a big shock. We also need the room over here to put all the peppers down here and retransplant some of these tomatoes into single pots to sell here at the greenhouse. So we did get our onions and our cole crops out of the greenhouse. We got them on these wagons here, onto 3 wagons. The reason that we got them on wagons is even though the cole crops and the onions could take a light frost, we still want to protect them a little bit. We want to harden them off so that they're ready to go in the ground, but we don't want them to freeze. We don't want to freeze the whole plug and have all the roots freeze. So we put them on the wagon so that we can then back them in the shed on nights that they're talking 40 degrees or less. So it's kind of a nightly thing. Gotta back the wagons in the shed and shut the doors. Get pretty good at backing up a 4-wheel wagon by the time you don't have to do it anymore.